Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Expanse, Season 4, Episode 1. It is called New Terra. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And it has been far too long since I've introduced an episode of The Expanse.
Oh, it feels so good.
Because Season 3 ended, what, like summer?
June 2018.
That was when the season ended, the last one.
Yeah, end of June.
Well, there you go. So, new season, first season on Amazon, after it was saved from the clutches of cancellation, and kind of exciting. Obviously, we have the gate open, and this episode kind of spends a lot of its time just kind of establishing where most of the characters are right now. They've had a little bit of a break since the season 3 finale.
It's a pretty low key opening episode, as season openers go.
It's low key to a point. It was really starting to ramp up towards the end because I felt the kind of the sense of discovery as we were going down to the planet for the first time.
The last 10 minutes or so, definitely. But generally, speaking as a whole, it was lower key, not in a bad way though. I liked it.
Yeah, it gave us some time. Holden's on Earth visiting his family. They're wanting to meet Naomi, and it neatly reminds us that Naomi can't just walk onto a planet because she's never been on a planet before. That was a big thing that we'd learned way back at the start of the show, is that the Belters can't just walk onto planets. I mean, we got examples of how even the Martians, still have to, build themselves up. We saw Bobby on Earth for the first time in like season 2 or whatever it was, and so. It reminds us of that, why he's not asked her to do this for just a quick personal trip, as it is.
Pretty understandable, yeah.
But he gets his job from Vasarala, who of course is kind of treating him as the expert, and knows that he's talking to some version of Miller that's coming from the proto-molecule, but also, well, I say proto-molecule from the gate, from the well, I'm sure we could get more specific as we go.
They were still referred to it as the proto-molecule in this context, so I think we can stick with that for now.
Yeah, so he gets a job from Vasarala to go, because we get a little bit of context as we're going. It kind of cuts back and forth, and we see this Belter ship trying to sneak in. We see that there's a blockade on the gate. No one's allowed to travel through yet. There is the one ship, drummer ship that is inside the ring, that is kind of policing in there to be like I think later on she calls it like the gas station inside the ring. And when the blockade's lifted, they'll be quite busy. But until then, Ashford is out there policing pirates, because there's Belter pirates going around attacking, inner ships, and he's getting a lot of flack from the people he's capturing. He's been called a traitor. You're helping the inners, and Ashford seems quite conflicted about this himself. He debates it with Drummer, the merits of this truce that they've got right now with the inners, and there's a whole. Basically everyone's kind of stalling right now because they don't know exactly what to do in terms of rules for letting people through.
There's this episode has a lot of space politics in a good way, in the way that Expanse is good at.
Yes, the way that Star Wars is not good at.
I will concede that. Yeah.
Well, that's why you specified that, because you knew that's where the conversation might go.
I did, yes.
Yes, because very quickly it becomes clear. Okay, we've got all these blockades, and there's even people on Earth talking to Vasarala. There's that one person in the in the big UN meeting where she's like, "No, we've got so many jobs we could give to people. Let's go through the gates and let's start exploring all these planets. These however many thousand planets, 3,000 plus planets we can go to now.
They all want to go through, just let them go. See what comes out of it.
She's like, no, because it's dangerous. We have to protect people. We have to do this. We have to do that. But the thing is that from the few ships that tried to get through from the Belters, a few got through. 4 get through, they say. 4 get through. Vasarala explains this to Holden. But one survived on their planet that they arrived at. Because obviously some of these planets aren't inhabitable. Of course they're not. Some of them are, whatever reasons. But this planet, which they're calling Elos, which is like as Holden puts it, the sister to Ganymede. Although everyone else seems to be calling it New Terra, which is the title of the episode.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. This seems to be a conflict. The Belters want to call it this, or at least not even all the Belters, just the Belters who have landed there want to call it this. And then New Terra is kind of the official name that the UN and whoever else have given it, which makes sense. I mean, New Terra is basically New Earth. I mean, sure, they'll probably call another planet New Earth as well. Why not have both? But it's essentially what it means.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, kind of makes sense though. I mean, why be imaginative when it's just like, hey, this is like Earth. Let's just call it New Earth.
Yeah, pretty much. So Holden's mission is to go in with a science team that's already kind of there. There's a science ship there. There's got security forces. The Rassie's going to go in, which does not have Bobby on it, which I'm a little disappointed. But I was hoping Bobby was going to be on the crew.
There was a moment where I thought they were going to come and pick her up,
Yeah.
and then they just didn't. I was like, oh man.
I will say I do like that we're getting to see more of actual Mars. Like seeing the living quarters and seeing what it's just like to live there is actually new and interesting because we've never seen that.
Oh, it's totally different. Yeah.
So that's good because there's a scene where Bobby's going through like this sort of like, and this is the thing because it's all inside. Like essentially what I'll call the city street is still like inside, but then all she does is go down a corridor and she's in like an apartment like hallway. It's just it's a completely different vibe because
it's one of the things that we kind of really like about Expanse is how unique the cultures are.
Yes,
They're not, that Mars and the Belt as well. They are, human and have come from Earth originally. They're so different now, societally.
yeah. I guess the way to phrase this is that the Belters, all even though they're obviously always on stations or ships, it always felt they're on like a ship of a varying size. So it always had that kind of feel of like, okay, there's a big sure like sort of central part that's like a shopping mall or whatever, and it's got like dance clubs and stuff, but it still always felt like they're on a ship. So it felt natural to have decks, and it felt natural to have. Whereas this didn't feel that. This felt like no, we have made a city out of corridors and like underground.
It's an entirely concrete city.
Yeah, so it's interesting. A great visual. But the Rassie's going in to New Terra to basically do a couple of things. Mainly establish if it's safe because there's a structure there that they've got surveillance of that looks proto-moleculian, to make up a word, and
I'll go with it.
And Avasarala wants, and again, as they kind of point out, is like, essentially the Rassi crew are the first, foremost experts in dealing with this shit, in the field because they've just been thrown into it so much that now they're the ones that are going. And notice they've got a plaque now that, like, the salvage, it's legitimate salvage.
Yeah, that was fun.
They've got their ship, which they've got painted as well now. I'm pretty sure this is a new paint job. It looks very pretty.
You might be right. It did look clean.
Yeah, all this red and white definitely look new to me. And obviously we see, towards the end of the episode, we see this science ship with a security crew on it, which has got your man from Torchwood there.
Burn Gorman.
Yeah, playing his asshole self, which why is it, with the exception of Pacific Rim, where he's this kind of science nerd, although funnily enough, he's got the limp that he had in that, but the end of this episode.
Yeah.
But he's always the asshole. Yeah, so he survives, but there's this ship's going down and they're dropping into the planet, and there's debate afterwards where they don't know if it was an attack or a natural occurrence, and it's funny because the first thing that happens is this guy looks like he's shot in the chest. It looked like an attack, but then as it went on, it looked more like just rocks going through the ship.
Yeah, it was weird, right? Because you're like, at first it did look very targeted, and then it starts getting a lot more random, and bits of the ship are just falling away, and again, obviously that is what would happen in an attack. They're not aiming for specific people inside the ship, of course, but it just felt so chaotic that it felt,
because the first guy gets hit, it looked like he'd been shot by someone in the same ship. It looked like someone had just taken a machine gun out and shot him a few times.
Oh yeah, sure, I can buy that.
But then obviously more stuff started happening, and everyone started freaking out, and it started shaking. And he's holding on for dear life, and he at first I thought he was the only survivor, but then we see a few others like waking up. There's the one woman who we got a couple of lines from her before this happened. So it's intentionally kind of vague as to whether or not it was an attack or whatever. It doesn't seem like the OPA or the Belters, I should say, not the OPA, the Belters on the ground. It doesn't seem like they've got the capacity to do anything like this. So if it is an attack, it seems to be more from the natural planet. Because obviously by the end of the episode, we see what I'm going to refer as sentient throwing stars.
Yeah, and it's like a swarm of bees is the visual.
Yeah, swarm of bees or even maybe little birds or whatever you want to call it. But like it looks like they're swarming in. But then when we see one, the final shot of the episode is holding it. It's this little like sort of throwing star looking thing with like hairs on it.
And you say sentient? I'm not sure that's necessarily true.
Controlled then by something else? Again,
I don't know, because sentient implies intelligence, and I agree that they're presumably alive. There's some of life form. I don't know if it was a targeted attack or anything like that, or if it is just they swarm around, they see things movement and they head towards it, which is why they seemingly attacked the ship, there was something there, so they went towards it, like a like bees defending their hive.
Sure, no, I agree that them pulling out the guns is what triggered the
Yeah,
attack. Um, I'd have still thought sentient because they're flying around. But I mean, because like life that's not sentient, we're talking about plants and like,
sure.
and obviously tiny life, like microorganisms and shit like that. Obviously, those are
Yeah.
tiny, but where's that?
I don't know. It's. I mean, you could be right.
Oh, we'll see. I guess we'll get
Yeah.
more information. We'll see where it comes from. I mean, it could just be the hive mind of the protomolecule controlling them, as opposed to
It could well be. Yeah.
each one of them actually being living on their own kind of thing. But the way it moved definitely gave it like a kind of swarming, like animal kind of vibe.
It did. Yeah.
So, but we build up, and Naomi, they're discussing the plans when they get there, and Holden's like, okay, me and Amos will go down because we're the two Earthers. You two will stay in the ship. And Naomi's like, no, I want to go down. Like, we're going to discover all these new planets. We're going to visit all these new planets, and what, I can't ever go down? No, like, we're doing this. So we see these treatments that put her in great pain on the way there. And I think the most successful thing this episode does is it really makes it feel like a new frontier when they're getting there. It makes it feel quite epic when the Rassi's dropping down, and because we've just seen another ship drop down on the same planet and be torn apart.
It's quite tense.
It's quite tense, but also beautiful and exciting. There's a kind of it kind of balances this mix of like the dangers but the excitement at the same time of the new frontier, the new world.
Presumably how a lot of them are feeling, because
yeah.
Yes, it's dangerous as shit. Who knows what's here, but also, quite exciting.
Yeah, so all that feelings there. The music's great as it's dropping down. The Rassi dropping down, because we've never seen it make this drop before on surface on a planet, where it's dropping down vertically and then kind of lands. And I will say, very lucky that the height of the walkway that comes out just happened to be nice against that cliff that was next to where they landed.
To be fair, that might have been intentional. They might have landed like that. They might have measured it before.
Yeah, well, so what you're saying is that every time they're going to land, they have to do a scan and find a perfect place where it's the right height for their walkway.
Well, maybe the walkway has a certain amount that it can extend or not. Like, it doesn't have to go the entire way.
It can angle a bit, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, yeah, that's just kind of convenient. That's the perfect height.
I assume they do a scan, so it's okay. It's within this range, and that's acceptable.
Sure. But anyway, so they're doing this big landing. It looks great. It feels quite epic. And again, I love as they're coming out and the doors opening. Like, they have Naomi up front because she's the one who's never been on a planet before, and the sunlight kind of blinds her a little bit. And the entire thing is just the music, because there's no sound really coming through. And she's walking. She trips over at one point or stumbles, and Holden holds back the others. I don't know why I'm making all these Holden puns, but for some reason it's really easy this episode. He's holding back the others and lets her get back up. And I love the look she gives at him, and he just sort of smiles at her. And then they get out, and they're out in the world, and it's all exciting and new and fresh. And I think the episode does a great job of building up to this kind of moment, because this is essentially the ending. Obviously, we have the one confrontation to come, but we're right
it's
at the...
very minor, all things considered. The climax of the episode is this reaching the planet for the first time for our crew.
And again, like this episode excels mainly in creating that feeling, but also just establishing the core politics here and how everyone's feeling. The Belters here see these people as coming in to try and take them away from their new home, and they don't like them for that. And they, what starts the conflict is they throw, Burn Gorham gets something thrown at his face because he's seen as a traitor. And from the sounds of it, when we heard him speaking to the other guy on the ship, it sounds like he is a bit of an asshole. It sounds like he's very much the company man.
Shocked, I tell you.
He's the company man because he's talking about this previous instance where, he gave them some water and patted them on the backs and away they went. But he solved the situation. He's very much the company man who comes in and gets things done. And obviously Holden's playing nice with him. He's playing nice with everyone around him. But this attack happens. The standoff with the guns. And we just end with a shot of Holden looking at it and being like, shit. So, of course, I have to expect next episode, or soon at least, they're going to be making their way over to this structure and having a prod around.
I mean, what else would they do, right?
Yeah. And again, this season being primarily focused on this planet. Well, I mean, they might leave this planet after X number of episodes, but it feels different again to previous seasons. It feels like we've once again shaken up things in a nice, natural way where, okay, we're naturally into a new section of the story now.
Oh, definitely. And I think it's interesting that this is kind of new for everyone, right? There were bits that were new to various characters, new to us when we went to various planets, Mars, whatever the Belters were
Sure,
doing.
yeah, yeah. But
But
this
this
is
is
new
new
to
for
all the
everyone.
yeah, this is new to all the none of them have experienced this, and this is where we're going to talk about aspect ratios
Oh,
because
I knew that. As soon as it switched, I was like, oh, here we go.
it switches to the new aspect ratio after the crash landing of the first ship that goes down, and we see the survivors kind of waking up and people are coming out to help and whatnot, and then obviously it switches back to the traditional 16:9 when we're back up in the Rassi. But as soon as they break atmosphere and they're in the new world, it goes to the wider 2-3-5-1.
I'm a little bit disappointed it wasn't just as soon as it was through the ring that was the shift.
I get that, but we've already been through the ring.
No, I know.
So it
I know.
doesn't line up with last season. But I love this idea of the scope getting wider because we're in the new frontier. Like it's wider. It's simple.
It's an easy trick, but it works, doesn't it?
And it makes me wonder if we're doing this on every planet we go to now. There's obviously not the ones we already have, like not Earth and Mars, but like
Always
the
the same
planets.
ratio, or are we really mixing things up a bit?
Oh, you think we're going to get like 4:3 on one planet for thematic reasons?
Yeah, we'll get the Netflix ratio on one of them.
I mean, who knows? But there was a clear choice here to do this, which I have to imagine is going to be a choice that's consistent throughout more of the show.
I have no reason to assume why it wouldn't be. It was a very clear, logical choice as to why it was made. And if it had just happened that first time where with the ship, and then when we cut back to the rest and we stayed in 16:9, I wouldn't be expecting it all the time. I'd be, or maybe the first time we see a planet. But because we do swap back again when our crew land, I assume this will stick.
And even just a simple thing of like when it first switched, or when it isn't the second time it switched actually, when it switched when they went through, it has this feeling of because the show's been in the same ratio the entire time, it's legitimately, it looks different. On a simple fundamental way, it looks different than anything we've ever seen.
What would be really interesting, and I don't think they'll do this, but what would be really interesting for me is, okay, they go to another planet from here, a completely new one. We have the 2.35, and then when we come back with 16:9 again, because this is kind of okay, we're used to this now. This is standard again.
Oh god, that's or even more wacky as you gradually.
I considered that, yeah.
You gradually go back to 16:9
as
over
they get
episodes.
Used to it.
Yeah. If you could slow it down frame by frame, you could see that the smidge will move every frame.
Just every like couple of scenes, just widen it a notch, or no, not widen, but go back a notch.
One row of pixels, just every couple of scenes. One row of pixels.
By the end of the season, we're back to full screen 16:9.
Oh dear. But I really liked that. It was a nice little touch to just make it feel different. And the sense of adventure at the end I really liked as well. And like I say, a lot of the other stuff throughout the episode, it was bouncing around characters. But we should go to Bobby, talk about Bobby. She has been discharged seemingly from the Marines. We hear through a little bit of exposition from this guy who wants to buy her a drink that her trial was on TV and like she was offered this and this to sign a statement and she didn't do it. She stuck to her guns. No, I mean not a pun, but like given it's Bobby.
Yes, I know.
But we see that she's living with her brother and his family. And we see, she talks to Alex a little bit on the comms, and like again, it just establishes the feeling right now about how everyone else on Earth and Mars is feeling about the gates and the new Earth.
And I had another one of those, just nice physics touches that this show does with the transmission delay, because they were close enough. It was a live feed, but it had, I don't know if you noticed, in the corner of the screen they had a delay counter.
It started going more delayed as it went on. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it got to a point where it was bad enough they had to end it. But I like the fact that like when we're on like Skype or Discord or whatever doing a video chat, there'll be like a connection quality meter in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I like that to them. They just have a counter for the delay, just ongoing as just a standard thing.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because we know from the show that if they're so far apart, they have to send a recording. They can't send live.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Feed.
But it was just nice that it was just a standard feature on the video overlay. Again, tiny thing, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah, sure. So now we see she's working. She's like an engineer at like a shipyard. She's cleaning out the debris of the ship.
Yeah, nothing particularly interesting, just mundane work, but she's just getting on with it.
Yeah, because the shot pulls back and you see like, the whole sort of shipping yard, and it's just one of the big Martian ships. She's unclogging or whatever she's doing. So it does all these nice little slice of life things that just kind of like build things up. And obviously we have to talk about Miller and Holden's head, who does seem to sort of leave him again once they go back through the ring. Because that's he got his raid and he's back.
Yeah, we have a great visual of like his point of view almost with the way he sees like Holden and this transition.
It's very infrared almost. It was a very almost Predator-esque POV. It was the visual I got.
I can see that. It felt very heat visiony.
Yeah, but but I'm sure we're going to see him again because eventually we're going to want to talk to Holden again. But at least for right now, he's not constantly there talking to Holden.
Maybe when we get to the structure.
Yeah, maybe that'd make a lot of sense. So we got all this stuff going on, and like I said, the Ashford and Drummer stuff. Drummer's back is healing, he's in pain, but is healing. From last season, and again, that was another example of a video call between two people where, hey, yes. I'm surprised to see you live. Of course I had to call you. It's very rare that we can send live conversations to each other. So it did a good job just like setting up how everyone feels about this new Gold Rush. That was raised at the end of last season. This idea of everyone wanting to go through there first and gain control. The Belt want to go through there because they want their own planets, basically, because they don't have one. But at the same time, there's an interesting thing brought up with this Drummer and Naomi conversation where Drummer seems to kind of be against people, like, because she's like, oh, in 2 generations' time, these people on this planet won't be Belters anymore. They'll be Inners because they'll have
a planet and they'll have grown up like that.
Yeah, they'll have adapted and they won't remember what it's like to be a Belter. And she seems like, I mean, when Naomi says, yeah, but everyone should have that choice, I mean, Drummer does agree with that, but she does sound kind of like, well, they're not my people anymore at that point. Like,
I can understand where she's coming from. It's if you look at, in the history here, Belters were once just from Earth, right? And they were the same society, and now they couldn't be more different. So she's saying, okay, it won't be that long till, they're just as different to us now as we were then. So, I mean, I see what she's saying.
That's what happens when life expands. That was gold.
It's goddamn terrible.
I'm on fire today. I've had 2 Holden puns. I've had an Expanse pun.
Ugh. You're lucky I've had some damn alcohol.
Oh, you need it tonight, don't you? I mean,
oh god, yeah, don't remind me.
It was nice of Amazon to give us the Expanse season 4 the night of the election in the UK.
It was a nice distraction to watch an episode of this instead of seeing the chaos and misery.
Mm-hmm. Yes, things aren't going well. Also, we didn't get to see Dawes or Johnson, but we do see like an image of them. There's like a news broadcast talking about where they stand, where the OP stand, and all this.
I'm sure we'll get to them.
Yeah, well, we didn't get any Dawes last season, and I was like, oh, where's Jared Harris? I miss him. So I'm hoping we do get him this season because it would be a shame not to have him back.
I mean, I know he's a busy man, but I would hope we see some of him.
I hope he's back from he's dealt with Reactor 4 at Chernobyl, and he's back in space.
Yep.
Doing Expanse stuff. see if at any point when we get back to him, if he starts like, if there's like a crisis where, because obviously there's been moments in the show before where they've gotten control of a nuke or something like that, you better hope Dawes has never in a debate about what to do with a nuke, because I'll be dropping that graphite.
No, I bet you bloody
that
will.
Prime graphite as much as I can.
You're a terrible human being, you know that.
I enjoyed a little bit when Holden's calling Naomi when she's up in the Rassi still, and like one of his family members tries to talk Belter to her, and it's like really cringeworthy. And even though we don't understand it, it was still cringeworthy. And Holden's like, "Oh, that god, that was diabolically bad," and she's like, "Yeah, it was."
Yeah.
Oh, it was good.
I love the moment when Naomi's talking to Drummer and her Belter accent just immediately switches on.
Oh yeah, no. This show has always been so impressive when it comes to those accents.
It has, but just that switch into it when she's talking to someone from her home, essentially. It's such a realistic touch that I kind of love it.
Yeah. The I mean, outside of the aspect ratio thing, but that feels like more of a creative choice than anything else.
Yeah.
The only difference I feel from a production point of view, or even a production point of view, but from a another little stylistic thing that seems to have changed, and I don't know if this is because they're on Amazon now. I don't know why it would be because they're on Amazon, but there was a lot more fades between scenes in this episode, and that's not something I remember from.
I felt that too. I don't remember that either.
And it's not a complaint. It's just I mean, this is neither a positive or negative. It's just a.
They all were, but there was one point where it did it, and I was like, "Was that the end of the episode?" And then it carried on. But it had been probably about 40 minutes. So in my brain, it was okay. We're getting to the end now.
Yeah, a lot of crossfits. I mean, the episode was 49 minutes long, which is maybe a little bit longer than Sci-Fi would have let them go. So
yeah, I don't think there were. I mean, it's not by much though, is it? Because
no.
And this is one of the longer ones. They typically tend to be. I had a look between 45 and I think the longest is like 53. Well, so I mean, they haven't gone extreme.
Honestly, that sounds to me like they've not changed anything in their scripting. It's just that when they get to the final edit, they don't have to trim it down to a specific amount for ads. So they just let the few little minutes that they would normally have to cut.
Yeah, they don't have to be quite as stringent.
Yeah, so it sounds like to me they're just getting away with a little bit extra because
it's such a small amount extra though that I wouldn't worry that it's going to ruin the pacing or.
Oh yeah, not at all.
Through they wouldn't, because on some shows I absolutely could feel like that. Oh hey, we've got freedom now. Let's go overboard. But this is it's restrained enough that I'm not worried about that at all.
And you looked ahead, so I assume you saw the total number of episodes. Is it 10?
It is 10, yes.
It's 10, okay. So 10 episode season. But they've already renewed it. This is the great thing, is they renewed it for season 5 like a month or two ago, so we're good.
Yeah. The only thing that annoyed me this evening when I went to watch this is Amazon did not put up the 4K version straight away. Because I don't know if you're aware of this.
It's a separate listing, I'm aware, yes.
It's a separate listing. So, seasons 1, 2, and 3 are there, but 4 is not there for the 4K version as of when I watched this. I mean, it might be there by now.
So you had to watch episode 1 in 1080p. Oh, boo-hoo. The tears are scrolling down my face for you.
It's just annoying when I don't mind 1080p at all, generally speaking, but when I know there's a 4K option right there, and I could watch that. Why would I not choose that? So this was mildly annoying that I know, hey, it should be there. They're going to put it up. It obviously exists. Just hurry up and do it.
Yeah. But hey, that's episode 1. I am super excited about everything we're going to do on this planet. I think it was a nice world building episode showing where everyone feels right now about what's going on. And the sense of adventure towards the end and danger as well were both really well executed. So I am so happy to have this back. It is going to be a fun week and a half, 2 weeks. The aim is to try and do these one every day. There's definitely going to be 1 or 2 days that we skip that we can't avoid. But for the most part, the aim is to do 1 per day. So it'll probably take about maybe 12 to 14 days total to get through the season. So that's the plan. So you can expect 1 tomorrow. But hey, that is us. So thank you very much for joining us. You can let us know what you thought of episode 1 of the Expanse season 4 in the comments. Like and subscribe, ding the bell on YouTube for the notifications. You can support us by doing all those things. Support us as well by rating the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. More people will find us that way. And you can support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. And you can do that for as little as $1 per month and keep all the content coming and show as you like us and whatnot. But so go do that, and you get bonuses of course if you do that as well, so go and have a look. But thank you very much. We're just about to finish Mr. Robot, the final season, so go check out our reviews of that. We've had good fun with that, and of course we're about to start Witcher on Netflix next week, so that's also something to go look at. So but thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?